We start out on this new road. No turning back. But we have our ancestors with us. We're going to continue to dance with them. Dreaming them. Calling them. Seeing them. We are becoming what we were.
It is part of that Mayan prophecies. 7 triangles of light.
Keep walking. You are the spirit of Unaku. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unaku.
People who say that God made them from corn. They plan their lives according to the heavens. Well versed in astronomy, using a sophisticated mathematics, they calculated the movements of the night sky thousands of years into the past and thousands of years into the future. They knew that the universe moved in cycles. Their lives were ruled by the rhythms of the natural world, planting and harvesting, birth. The great tree of life emerges from the earth.
Always, they're connected. Science and religion.
In dreams, we learn from the Maya gods when to plant and when to harvest, when to set the fire, and when to do the corn ceremony.
What we're digging up, what we're coming up with, is part of our history. And the men that lived here are some of the greatest men we've ever had. And it's a fact that we're getting to know more and more and more about the life of these people.
They still maintain their customs. They still maintain their ways of organizing their societies. And it's very exciting to see how much of the ancient Maya way of life is still alive now.
Because American history does not begin in 1492 with Columbus. It begins in 200 BC with the first Maya king who wrote his name on a stone. What is happening now is the people who made these places, people like Yashpak or Bird Jaguar or Fakal, are getting back their voices. They are becoming real to us and speaking to the people of the 20th century about who built this place and why and what they felt and what they thought about the world. These are not anonymous people anymore.
You are the spirit of Unaku. Keep walking. We the human, we are doing the spirit of Unaku.
Yo,
LA natives.
Las Aslan
Las
Natives
Aslan.
podcast. Welcome back, Zero.
Absolutely.
Man, we have a very, very, very special guest sitting with us today, Zero. It's overwhelming for me personally. As you know, I'm a big El Vuh fan, and you exposed me to TEZOZOMOC music.
Yeah.
And his poetry and his rhyme skill and pattern and just the way he just puts words together and it was only 2 tracks, but those 2 tracks were just so profound. I knew every lyric.
He is a very talented individual. When I heard him spit at ELAC College, oh God, what year? 99. It was 1999. I was like overwhelmed. I was in the crowd and I told myself, I was like, dude, I know that one day something's gonna happen between me and this him. And El Vuh wasn't alive at that time. That's why I was kind of just contemplating, like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I know I'm gonna work with this poet one day. And that was my introduction to TEZOZOMOC because 99 in East LA College was a revolutionary time. There was a lot of people awakening to their indigeneity and just a lot of stuff was changing for us at that time. And profound poetry comes out of, gets birthed during that time. and one of the most talented poets that I've ever met, and he goes by the name of TEZOZOMOC. What up, Tezo?
Oh, Mateo.
Yeah, try to stand close.
Oh, Mateo, I was, well, I have a hip hop background. I grew up with Grandmaster Flash and Run DMC, but in hip hop and pop locking and breakdancing. But when I went back to college, I was taught, because I didn't think about poetry growing up.
Mm.
But when I was learning about Nahuatl and Anahuac societies and leadership, I learned that all the leaders were poets.
Really?
And I was taught by Nezahualcóyotl and Ayoko Anquetzpaltzin and Macuil Xochitl how to express myself. So I use a lot of techniques from the ancestors that I found in 16th century Nahuatl literature, Nahuatl being one of the original languages of Anahuac, which is the Central Valley of Mexico and Central America. And so I always knew that to be a leader, you had to be a poet.
Wow.
So I use those techniques in my poetry, and the ancestors taught me how to be a poet.
Well, they're very effective because, I mean, the fact that you work with Quinto Sol, I've seen you live on stage with Quinto Sol in front of thousands of people. I've seen you work in the studio with my good friend Limon. And like I said, I was inspired in 99 when I first heard you,
I had just went back to East LA College after 10 years of working in warehouses. I found the truth when I was 27 years old and realized that Mexican was Indian. It was indigenous. Actually, I was at my friend's house. The first book I read was Where White Men Fear to Tread by Russell Means.
Oh, shit. Russell Means, you're already
and Russell Means was on the radio on 790 KABC. And I used to work for Boyle Heights Lumber. My tata worked at Boyle Heights Lumber forever. So there I am delivering lumber for Boyle Heights Lumber, and I'm listening to the radio. And this guy named Michael Jackson, not the dancer Michael Jackson, but some British, he had a talk show on 790 KBC, and he has Russell Means, and Russell Means is talking about his book.
Damn.
And Russell Means is talking about a murder that he was charged with that he didn't commit. So he was grown up on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota or North Dakota, one of the two. And
was he the original ones with Peltier in him?
Yeah, he was part of AIM.
Oh.
Yeah, American Indian Movement.
Right.
So he's being charged with the murder he didn't commit. So him and the Lakota brothers got together. And the plan was they're going to sneak guns into the courtroom. And when they convict him of murder, they're going to assassinate the judge, the jury, and the district attorney.
Nice.
So I'm going, what could bring people to the point where they're going to assassinate the judge, the jury, and district attorney, and then try to get on a plane and go to Cuba? And it's always been a white jury, white district attorney, and white judges on that reservation. So they were convinced that they're going to convict him of murder, but they actually came back with a not guilty verdict. And Michael Jackson was asking him, did they know that they saved their lives? And he's like, I don't know, but so I said, all right, I'm going to read that book, because I had heard a good quote from Gandhi: live like you're going to die tomorrow and learn like you're going to live forever. So I said, all right, well, I got to read things that interest me, because up till now, or up till that time, I hadn't been exposed to anything that interested me.
So those were the first days of you getting inspired into, finding your indigenous roots and identity.
Well, I read that book. It was 500 pages, and I'm at my friend's house, and he's telling me, hey, I have another book that you might like. It was called by Olentes Calipoca.
Oh, okay.
And it said, not Latino, not Hispanic, the Mexica Handbook. And in there, it's talking about poetry, and it's talking about they killed us in the name of the Father. They burned us alive in the name of the Son. They tortured and raped our women in the name of the Holy Spirit. I'm going, what the fuck? I grew up Catholic. I even went to Catholic high school. I learned how to pop lock in public school, but then my mom had a great idea of me taking the test for St. Paul High School. But so anyways, I went to there, but I had never heard of that. And then, so he says, all right, I'm going to give you that book. And it was a book of poetry. And it had a recommended reading list. And it was called, one of the books was The American Holocaust by David Stannard. Another one was Aztec Thought and Culture by Miguel León Portilla, and a couple other books. But those are some really profound literatures. and they woke me up, slapped me in the face, and I cried through the American Holocaust. But it woke me up and made me realize that I was lied to. And at my friend's house, I was telling him, I hadn't been to church in a long time, but I felt that I needed to go. And he looked at me and he said, the Spaniards brought that shit. I had never, ever had anybody talk to me like that. The Spaniards brought that shit. He looked at me, and he killed us over it. And I was like, what's he talking to? And that's when he gave me that book of poetry. So I read that, and then I was just, I read about 50 books.
What year was that?
It was like 1998.
98. Yeah.
1997, around there. I read like 50 books. I was reading Noam Chomsky, Paulo Freire. I was reading the heavy hitters.
Those are hard reads. Those are not easy reads.
Yeah, because even Rage Against the Machine on People of the Sun, they have an insert where there's a bunch of books in there. So I started reading all those books. I got up to like 50 books.
Wow.
And then I was thinking, I'm not going to go back to college. They're just going to lie to me just like they did in high school.
And TEZOZOMOC, how old were you?
I was 27.
Okay.
And so I was telling the brothers in the neighborhood all this knowledge that I was learning about the church involved in the genocide of our people and showing them the American Holocaust. And they'd be like, that's bullshit. And then they would do another line of meth.
Damn.
And I'd be like thinking, that's bullshit. Where do you think those guys are at today? You know what I mean? And some of them are dead. Some of them, their digestive systems are all messed up. Their skin is all ruined from the amount of tweak they did in their lives. So I went back to college. I stopped doing drugs. I stopped drinking. And I learned that alcohol was the white man's poison. So I stopped drinking. And I went back and I said, all right, there's nothing they could show me that I can't figure out because my ancestors were geniuses. That's how I pray. Luckily, my friends say, when you go back to college, do your English and your math first and follow the IGETC. So there I was following this IGETC that helps you transfer to the Cal States or the university. And then in English class, English 101, one of the females says, you should be in the honors program. So I got in the honors program. I got 6 A's in the honors program. I said, I'm a master at mathematics. There's nothing they can show me that I can't figure out. I got A's in all my math classes. But I went to tutoring when I needed to. There's nothing that they could show me that I couldn't figure out. So by the time I saw a counselor, the counselor said, with these grades, you could go to any university that you want. Wow. Not that. I broke down any door to any university in this country. Wow. 3.7 with 6 A's in the honors program. I was active, involved with Mecha. We're having a lot of events, spoken word nights, concerts, powwows, protests, conscious raising, video watching, documentary watching.
You went to Northridge though, right?
I went to UCLA.
Oh, UCLA, that's what it was.
As an undergraduate, and then I did my master's at.
That's what it was. The master's was at Northridge.
I got accepted to UC Berkeley as well because, like they say, you could go to any university that you want. I was first going to go to Cal State LA, and I said, I'm going to represent my gente, and I'm going to go to the most competitive universities in this state, which are Berkeley and UCLA. So I applied to both of those and a couple other ones with the fee waiver, and they all accepted me.
Wow!
So I was in the driver's seat. What university do I want to go to?
Nice.
So I ended up going to UCLA. And UCLA is really elitist, though. Bunch of elitist.
What I know about UCLA is that if you graduate from UCLA, it's almost like they give jobs to fellow alumni, right? They're very close in that way.
Use it to your advantage. It's going to work. When you tell somebody that you graduated from UCLA, their eyebrows raise. So, that's why I use it.
Like you said,
tired of that place, but
it was probably, it is one of the most competitive schools to go to.
Yeah.
And if you graduate, you're ahead of the
there's
game.
over like.
But you graduated from UCLA, right?
I got 2 majors.
Oh, 2 majors.
Two bachelors from UCLA in sociology and Chicano studies.
And you're now a Chicano studies professor.
Yes.
Yeah. And what schools?
For the last 12 years.
Nice.
Various. I've taught from Occidental College to Cal State Northridge to East LA College. Taught at Rio Hondo College. I've taught at Pierce College. I've taught at LA Trade Tech. I've taught at a number of colleges Oh, Chicano.
And
So,
now
but I taught sociology as well
okay.
at College of the Canyons, because when you have a master's and you have a BA as well and something else, you could teach that as well at the community college.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you can, do two types of lessons or whatever.
Two disciplines.
That's, I don't know. I've never went to college, bro.
Yo, I have to say, I respect you to death, bro, because that kind of discipline, man, with the people I was surrounded with when I was a teenager, like I didn't even graduate high school. So God forbid, like excelling at that rate at that time, and especially not being too young, right? Like you said, you were 27, 28, right? So you started a little later in your life.
Yeah.
And you fucking conquered it.
Yeah.
Man, much respect, bro.
Couldn't stop me. Yeah. I was empowered by my ancestors.
Yeah. That's the one that when I first heard your poetry back in the day at ELAC, I definitely felt that energy. Like an awoken person, to whatever reality where you're going. Right. Yeah, and now I see you 20 years later, because about 20 years, but no, more than that, 22 years. 22 years later, same rooted individual, same sharp as a nail, you're just on it, bro. And it's just been the same, right, Armando?
Absolutely.
I mean,
like I told you, like your demeanor, your attitude, your perception of life hasn't changed in the last 20 years. Just, me, based on those 2-3 tracks that I heard, it was so profound. TEZOZOMOC, the way you push the message or the narrative that you push, it's so easy to understand, bro. For a kid like myself, 15, 16, when I was listening to you, bro, you made me understand the Mexica movement and culture a lot more easier than others. And that's hard for me to say, bro. So thank you for influencing me and thousands of fans worldwide, bro.
Yeah, I think we should give the people right now on the podcast just kind of like where you're at poetry wise. Do you want to share a poem right now, just to kind of give them a sense so we can get deeper into the conversation as we go along? But I want them to experience your poetry just like I did in 99.
Iniu kitotiake, iniu kitlalitiake, inintlato iwano techmachio tiliake techamapa, inwewetke, ilamatke, katkain tosijuan, intokolwan, intachtojuan, intomintonuan, intopiptonuan, intochichikawan, iniuki nenonotzal nochiutiu, inotechkawi, kawilitiake, inashkantonemi, inintechtikisa, awaik poliwis, aikilkawis, inokichiwako, inokitlaliku, inintlilu, inintlapalo, ininteño, inimitoloca, iniminamikoca, inokompa titiwi, aik poliwis, aikilkawis. Nochipa tikpieske, intewanti, intepilwan, tetiexwiwan, intiteti ikatotonuan, intitemintotonuan, intitepiptotonuan, intitechichikawan, intitletlapaloan, intiteesoan, kitotiwi, kitenewatiwi, iwan inokyoliski, intlakatiski, mexica tepilwan, intenochka tepilwan. Aslan Anawak Tamuanchan, thus they came to tell it. In the spirit of the ancestors, and Tenochtitlan, I, TEZOZOMOC, strike the drum, so from within the heavens they can come the beautiful flowers, the beautiful songs that the ancient men, the ancient women passed on and handed down to us, that which they painted in their codices. So we would not be lost. They bequeathed their knowledge forever to us on paper and in stone through their hieroglyphs and their paintings of their history, renown, and memory. They were our grandfathers, our grandmothers. They were our greatest of nanas, our greatest of tatas, our ancestors. And in 1519, when hell came to Tamuanchan, the Spaniards tried to destroy our cultures of antiquity, so our account was repeated. The Spaniards burned 99% of the books in our libraries, so the songs were rewritten, metamorphosized, redrawn, and recreated in the Latin alphabet so our culture could continue. And never will it be lost. Never will it be forgotten. For we, their children, their brothers, their sisters, their great-grandchildren, their descendants, we who carry their blood and their color, who are their eyebrows and their eyelashes, will never let it perish. Never let it be forgotten. We will tell it. We will teach it. We will pass it on. We will hand it down to those who now live, to those who have yet to be born, the children of the ancient Mexicans, the children of the Tenochcans.
So there you go. That's TEZOZOMOC.
And that's just
One
a
poem.
fraction of his catalog.
That's like one poem.
Guys, whoever was watching that, chime in the comment section. How did you guys like that?
That's what I'm talking about, man. I like to hear the back. I never really talked to you about your backstory, like how you got into. I just knew you were in the movement, and we were always seeing each other backstage, and there was never a barrier for you when we were performing. So I mean, you were there. So it's kind of cool to hear the backstory and to know that I know of Olin Tezcatlipoca because he was really into books. Like he would push books onto people. That was his movement, was to read. Don't even go to the spiritual stuff. It's all whatever.
Yeah.
And he was against that.
Yeah, but and don't try to control me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's a control. He was trying to tell people what to do, but
Yeah. Well, I mean,
tell people to read their books in a certain order. I'll read anything I want.
Right.
You know what I mean? In any order.
And that's
you know what I mean?
and that's been the new theme that I've been trying to push to our people into the podcast and for the past 40 episodes is the sovereignty, right? We have a sovereign attitude towards almost everything and anything. And that's what I love about you is like you're like, oh wow, thank you for the list, but don't tell me what to read, when to read it, and how to read it and how to perceive it.
When you know the truth, you can make informed decisions.
Absolutely.
So you can do it yourself. You have that power.
Yeah.
So learn the truth, seek the truth. The Mayans have a philosophy, Pancheve, seek the root of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So seek it. It doesn't just come on your lap. You can't surf the web and find the truth. You got to search it out and seek it.
Yeah. It definitely takes a discipline and an effort, because I remember my story of like getting into indigenous philosophy or whatever. My homie Tino, Worry, Phoenix, he goes, come to my house and I have this video. We should watch it. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I go there because I used to go there every day. And it puts in the National Geographic's Mayan documentary. I don't even know what it's called. The whole time my mouth was dropped. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? That's like us. They're talking about us. It doesn't make sense how we're that. And then we're shooting drugs and being stupid in the street. Like really stupid, acting stupid, not really caring about education, not, you know what I mean? Like we were kind of lost in that place.
The Mexican needs to look deep into their eyes and recognize that greatness.
Yeah.
It's their destiny to go to college and university. In the Anahuac world, the parents had a decision to make. What school are they going to send their child to? Either the Telpochcali, the House of Young Warriors, or the Calmecac, the university. And within weeks, they took their child to which school they're going to dedicate their child to. When their child gets a little bit older, they're going to bring this child here to be educated. Where else? And that was for boys and girls. They had separate educations. The girls had their own Telpochcali and their own Calmecac, and the boys had their Telpochcali and their Calmecac.
Wow. Beautiful.
So it's their destiny to be in these institutions.
Right.
To try, and then you hear
and to dominate, because it sounds like you were dominating, like, dominating.
Yeah, when I went to UCLA, those students couldn't compete with the kind of scholarship that I was producing in the class.
Yeah.
I was producing A's.
Yeah.
A's. And Dr. Walter Allen. It took a process. I had to learn how to write. It just didn't happen. But I was reading Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky revolutionized linguistics. So the way we study grammar today is because of Noam Chomsky. So I said, all right, the first class I took at East LA College was an English class. And I got a C. I was pissed. I was mad. How could I be reading all these books and not know where the commas go? So I looked at Noam Chomsky and Paulo Freire and good writers. And what do they put before the comma? What do they put after the comma? What do they put before the semicolon? What do they put after the semicolon? What do they put between the dashes? And so I just figured it out scientifically.
Wow, you went fucking Malcolm X, eh?
Yeah, and I figured it out scientifically how to.
He
figure
did.
out
I mean
how to-
I mean, if you're studying a book, no one studies a book's grammar. I don't.
With the strategy of having like, I'm just gonna do it better, right? That's what someone
Well, the inspiration
on anything you did, anything you touched, you were just like, I'm gonna just do it a little better than than the guy in the past.
Well, I wasn't trying to compete with anybody. I was just trying to learn the best I could, and then that's the kind of work I'm going to produce. I'm going to represent our ancestors. We are a reflection of our ancestors, and our ancestors were brilliant.
Yeah.
So I had to reflect that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to put in the work. But yeah.
Well, I mean,
you got it. Have you ever seen a piece of jade when it's raw? It's like white. It's not even. But you polish it, and you polish it, and you polish it, and then it starts to shine like a green emerald, you know?
Right.
So it takes time. You got to polish and polish and polish.
But
and then you'll shine.
That
it's like a poem, too.
That description.
Polish it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Zero?
Yes.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely not. I did not.
Well, see,
I went to 9th grade, but I have a different story than Tessel. Just a simple fact that I have the severe dyslexia. I was never taught to read like proficiently. So I read books, but it was like fucking hard, you know? So then I switched to ceremonial internal wisdom, right? Not to say that I'm not gonna study the white man's version of it, right? Because I wouldn't have had the same story in college that you had. You know what I mean? Because of just the way I grew up and my whole outlook on school, right? I always felt like it was a place where they mistreated you, right? And I didn't want to be around that. I turned to art, bands, internal work. Ceremonial stuff really changed my life, and far more than any education did. When I went into the Temescal, and I just awoke in my genetic memory, and from that point on, like you said, our ancestors are going to find a way to make you fit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be at the university. You can be an intellectual in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. And that's how
organic intellectuals.
Well, I mean, I went to 9th grade, and I used to work for the state of California, and I ran a 40-bed facility for autistic kids with 9th grade education. I have my own Malinali superfoods. I invented my own formula based on ancestral ingredients. And I have my own brick and mortar on Whittier Boulevard intentionally in the poorest neighborhood to affect the community.
Your own destiny.
Absolutely. And I did it exactly.
Our own destiny.
I did it exactly like you did, though. Knowing that my ancestors were brilliant, genius individuals. So this society is like, I should be able to run circles around these guys. I'm talking about white elitists, white supremacists, racist, harmful businessmen. I should be able to run circles around these. And I've proven it. I mean, I've had my $2 million business that I ran with autistic people, right? That all went away. And I started from nothing again. And now I have Malinali and I have the storefront. So I feel like I could run circles around these guys using the spirit and the intention of my ancestors. I can't be a capitalist running circles around them. I have to use different intentions, different methods. Like, I'm not a capitalist, right? Yeah. I'm something different. I'm bringing something to the community, and I'm figuring out a way so it's affordable for them. They get optimal health. I'm bringing Nahuatl classes to that community, right? Because we're starting a program. I'm bringing plant-based food to that community. So that's why I feel like I run circles around people who are greedy and capitalists. Yeah. So just like you did in the academic world, where you're like, these guys, fuck this. I'll read this book. Oh, really? You're going to give me a C on this? I'm going to fucking study the book. The book's
that
grammar.
That was the only C I got, brother, at Ila. It was the only C I ever got at Ila.
Amazing story, brother. I'm really proud that we are colleagues, musically and in the community. Because you're right. The best leaders are poets, and I'm a poet,
I'm going to be honest. I rarely meet professors to begin with. So knowing that TEZOZOMOC, one of my favorite spoken word hip hop artists, is a professor, it's like icing on the cake for me.
Well, you know why I got inspired to be a professor too? Because, or even go to UCLA because Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine, he's a graduate from UCLA.
Really?
Oh, look at that brother, man. He writes the bombest lyrics, you know.
I didn't know that he
performs.
I didn't really.
But yeah, he's a UCLA graduate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I said, all right, I'm going to be a bomb poet, but also a graduate from one of their top universities.
Nice. And you did it.
Yeah.
That was the same outlook that I had. I'm fuck it. I'm coming from East LA. I don't have an education, but I'm going to take my family out of the ghetto. I'm going to take them out, keep them safe, right? Regroup. When we come back, we start healing the community that we come from, because we can't neglect our loved ones. That's where the spirit of the tatas live, right there. You know, those young kids that come in inspired and when they go into the shop, they're like, what the hell is it? What is this? Is this Aztec? What? You know, and they get all curious about it, right? Yeah. And you break down a little bit of stuff to them and they feel like you gave them $1 million worth of information, and they're running and they keep coming back, you know, and look at this new movement that we have with LA Natives, right? LA Natives is a whole community of people that are hungry for your poetry. Right? They're hungry for Malinali superfoods to regain control of their diet and their body structure, their health. Because
we lived in disease-free societies.
Yeah, break that down a little bit.
Our ancestors had alkaline bodies. That means whatever they were eating was alkaline. Alkaline disease can't grow in an alkaline body. Alkaline disease grow in acidic, toxic environments. So if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, energy drinks, cooked food, even coffee, all those are acidic. Soda, all that's GMOs. It's all acidic. You're creating an environment that disease can grow in. Dr. Sebi said it perfect. Anything produced by nature is alkaline, is life. Anything produced by man is acid, is death. So look at the pH scale. You could have pH strips and test your pH. See where you're at. If you're below 7, that means you're acidic. You need to correct that. And you're going to correct it through your diet. Even the father of Western medicine, Hippocrates, said, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. That's where Malinali superfoods come in. Our ancestors were 95% vegan. When the Spaniards came, they looked at our societies and said, they don't eat meat. Yeah, because they didn't see us eating meat. Yeah, we ate meat on occasion, turkey, deer, some insects, worms. But they didn't see us eating meat, so they thought we didn't eat meat at all. But
they thought we were uncivilized.
They thought we were that they brought meat to us.
Right, they brought civilization.
The meat in the overwhelming of animal protein is what is causing most of the diseases in our society today.
Yeah.
So our ancestors didn't eat tripas and carne asada, and
patas,
carnitas, and lengua, none of that.
Sesos,
none of that.
That's making me laugh.
Need to go back to those original diets and lifestyles. The beans, the corn, and the squash, the three sisters.
Yeah. I mean, when I became completely plant-based, which has been like about 10 years, I became like, prior to that, chicken was my thing, right? Yeah. But when I became vegetarian, now it became calabaza. It was calabaza and flor de calabaza. And it was just, and then beans. And I'm like, naturally, I gravitated to those type of foods because I was eating intermittent fasting. That another thing that our ancestor diet, I believe, since it was high in nutrient-based foods, spirulina, bee pollen, those type of foods, cacao, chia, those mineral-based foods bring down the appetite at least 80%, right?
Yeah, usually I eat once a day, sometimes twice. But I haven't eaten meat in 11 years now. My little brother died of cancer and problems with that. But.
Yeah. So when you eat once a day, you're pretty much intermittent fasting, right?
Well, I'll take like pollen early in the day and spirulina.
Well, I don't know if that. What I'm talking about, what I'm talking about, food is like sandwiches, burritos, an actual meal that
I won't eat till later, usually later in the day.
Yeah, usually I eat around 5 o'clock. And if I do break my fast, it's going to be water-based food, like salad, fruit, something that has water. It's really water because it's not bread or meat or cheese or dairy, something that takes the body a large amount of time to break it down, right? It's water just goes right through you. So another thing I've implemented for the past 4 years is a 5-day fast during the Nemotemi prior to the Mexican New Year, and then go into an intermittent fast after that. So fasting is a big part of my diet. Being able to eat strategically, right? Not eat because I'm hungry. When I'm hungry is before I eat my high mineral drink, like atomic bomb. That's when I'm like, I need it. Where is it at? I need to make it. I need to drink it. Then I'll feel better. Not where before, I got to get a breakfast burrito and I hope it's big because I'm going to feel better after that. But really, I got tired.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Thomas Lodi says the less food you eat, the longer you'll live.
Right.
So you eat food low in calories, but high in nutrition. And
which is spirulina, maca, chia, cacao, hemp. All these foods are pretty much powder. I also implement bee pollen, right? Pine pollen.
I'm like the hummingbird. I live off bee pollen.
Yeah, bee pollen is probably the highest foods. One of my favorite foods is bee pollen because it does so many functions. You know, it has so many functions.
That is one supplement that I noticed that it will reduce your appetite drastically.
Yeah, and give you energy.
Yeah,
and give you massive energy.
Yeah, you won't be hungry for a while.
Yeah. So that's strategic eating. It wasn't like we had fast food places back in the day. We didn't have like, let's go to Jack's after this. It's like,
have you ever tried dipping a banana in spirulina powder?
No.
Oh, it's the bomb. You can't taste it, and it's going directly into your system.
Yeah, I drink about I want to say a teaspoon of spirulina, which is quite a bit, every day.
All right.
Every day. I've been doing that for at least 7 years. I've been doing that since the day you went to my house.
And I told you about
and you
spirulina.
told me that I was an Aztec. You go, you don't remember. You said, you ain't Aztec. And I was like, what? What the fuck is Deso saying? This fucking dude, man. Why starting shooting? He's all, you don't even know spirulina. And that fucking day I went to Sprouts. I bought spirulina and I went and I put a glass of water and I put me a tablespoon and I started swishing it around.
It's hard to take like that because it's a powerful drink. But yeah, it's tequitlat, stone residue.
Tequitlat.
That's the Nahuatl name for spirulina.
Nice. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, it changed my life.
It's Mexica food.
Yeah. Changed my life ever since then. And then I started doing more research in cacao and maca. And my homie Chilan came and gave me knowledge about maca root. And he was really big on cacao and maca root. And chia seed became a part of our life because we were on the Peace and Dignity run and the runners were drinking chia water. And it was keeping their body fed as well as hydrated during long runs for the Peace and Dignity run. We were running transcontinental. We ran from Los Angeles all the way to New Mexico. And through the reservation, Hopi Land, all that stuff. And so food is a very, very important part of our journey. And obviously, in your journey and your high level of consciousness, I attribute to having superfoods in my system. You know what I mean?
One thing I noticed too, because I've been teaching for 12 years now, almost 13, is this like 8 years ago. I would notice students that would come in coughing and they would be sick. And a month later, they're still coming to class. A month later, still coughing. Because their immune system was just so low. They needed to boost them up because of the bad diets and the fast food.
According to Anthony Fauci on the Breakfast Club, there's nothing you can do to boost the human immune system, according to him.
Man, I haven't even been sick with the cold or the flu in like 5 years. Don't give me that. I know that the power of plant-based nutrition and the power of what Tonantzin Coatlicue gave us for nutrition boosts your immune system. If you go to any treatment center for cancer, heart disease, they're going to put you on a plant-based diet. They're going to give you green juice for like 20 days where you just drink that because your body is dying for nutrition.
Right.
And you'll be able to put the amount of vegetables that you can't eat that much vegetables, but you could drink it. And you'll be getting more nutrition than the average American gets in like 2 years, according to people like Dr. Thomas Lodi.
Yeah.
Who helps people, who come with like stage 3 and stage 4 cancers and helps them heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the body's breaking down, as it breaks down in the stomach, it doesn't have the power to digest bad foods, processed foods, things that are hard to get out of your system, right?
Things that aren't recognizable by the body, like GMOs.
Yeah. And other preservatives and things that come in packaged meats.
Yeah.
So switching to superfood, I mean, I'm so glad that you talk about that part of the diet because I know it inspires the higher levels of consciousness.
So think about it too. Whole Foods Market. That's where they got all these, what we're talking about right here, all these whole food ingredients, or even the whole food, the apple, the orange, the actual whole food. How far are Whole Foods markets from low income areas?
At least 5 to 7 miles, maybe even 10.
Maybe even more.
Well, if you go to Compton, forget about it. You're talking 15, 20 miles.
Yeah, or even East LA. Where's the nearest Whole Foods from East LA?
Pasadena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take you a while to get there.
That's 8 miles. Probably about 8 miles.
And what's the alternative to Whole Foods?
There is none. Not in the hood.
They've monopolized it.
You got your Super A and they go to Whole Foods Market and compare the products at Whole Foods with your local supermarket by your house.
Absolutely.
Look in there. They don't have the same products. They don't have the same brands.
Yeah.
Because the rich people know that this is what they need to, or the wealthy areas know that this is what they need to be healthy, to be healthy.
Right.
Whole Foods.
Which
but yet in low income areas, you'll be lucky if you have a Sprouts, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky.
Yeah.
But you'll have your McDonald's and your donut shops and your 7-Elevens.
And your food for less. And all those foods are not.
Every time I see a donut shop, it disgusts me. Yeah, right. I haven't went into a donut shop in I don't know how long. And
we have bad food very readily available in our community. We don't have high nutrition places. And that's why I'm proud to be one of the first high nutrition centers I'm not the first because obviously in Compton there was the Good Life and things like that are juice bars. Yeah. But I don't focus on cold pressed juicing. I focus on high nutrient foods, which are spirulina, maca, chia, cacao, hemp, pine pollen. The list goes on the foods and
goji.
But you're in East LA, bro. Like, who's doing it in East LA?
That's what I get from the community is like, whoa, I can't believe you're here. I don't understand why you're not in Silver Lake or fucking the West Side. And that's not, like, as I said before, I feel as a business person, I can run circle around these greedy white supremacist 1940s, good old boy clubs. They're dying. Their business practices are dying. And I feel like in the future, it's going to be about corporations that are trying to heal the community and people and their environment around them. That's going to be the new future, right? Not destroying it because people aren't in agreement with that.
Well, then a corporation can't be part of that because a corporation in itself, if you look at the documentary of the corporation, the corporation under the law is a live person. And if you look at the characteristics of the corporation,
under
psychologically, they're psychopaths. So we can't let a psychopath be leading our community and telling us how to be healthy.
Well,
because they have a profit motive, profit over people. We need people over profit,
which is capitalism.
Yeah,
that's capitalism. Profit but what I'm trying to propose is a new version of it that has more communal. Like, in other words, the CEO doesn't have to be the top dog in terms of the earnings right?
Family owned.
Yeah, it's actually family. Yeah, it is family owned. Heron.
All right.
No, shout out to Heron. He says there's a health store in Compton, family owned. It's called New Earth Health Food
Yeah,
Store, guys.
yeah. There's tons of intentions in our community, but I have to be real. It's not easy, and it's very expensive. And you're not making a lot of money. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not the same. Because if I was a corporation,
If you're gonna do it for money, then
yeah. If I was a corporation, I would have been long gone out of East LA already because it wasn't profitable.
Yeah.
Right. But not me. I go, well, what could I do as a business person to stimulate people to come to my shop while I'll have workshops, while I'll do plant-based aslan? You know, I'll invite other chefs that are vegan chefs to come to my place and not be a competition, but more like a place of refuge where they can make their own money and make their own economy, right? Because it benefits my economy by default. That's the type of corporate attitude I'm having, right? It is that I don't have to be the biggest or the most wealthiest. I don't care about that. What I care about is having a place that's consistently giving high nutrient food to a people I adore, which is my own community, my own self, my own reflection. That's the way I feel. Yeah. So I think you should hit him with another poem.
I'm not Latino, I'm not Hispanic, I'm not mestizo, I'm not Mexican American, I'm not a descendant of Amerigo Vespucci or Hernan Cortez. I'm a Chicano with an X. Not because I admire the Latin alphabet or think it's appropriate, but because it's indigenous, because it's encoded in my genetics. Not the letter, but the memory of our ancestors, the memory of the murderous invader, the memory of the most beautiful of flowers in Xochi, the most eloquent of songs in Cuica. There, where the eagle spirit shines and the jaguars growl, stands the X in Olin, stands the X in Mexica, stands the X in Mexico. Mexico or Mexico Tenochtitlan, Mexicano or Mexicano Chicome. I'm a Chicano with an X. Not because I admire the Latin alphabet or think it's appropriate, but because it's indigenous, because it's your ancient gift. It's the nopalito on your forehead, the elote, not the cornbread. The X is your almond eyes. The X is why you're wise. The X is sacred mathematics. The X is anti-satanic. The X is when the sun eclipses the Milky Way. The X is more fire to Turkey Day. The X is the hottest chile and the molcajete. The X is all that's indigenous in el número 13. The X is the hummingbird and the nightingale. The X is all that's indigenous in a two-man cell. The X is the molcashi and ahuacat. The X is Chichen Itza on the spring equinox. The X was when the Hopi ran with water to La Gran Tenochtitlan. The X was the Mexica running back with fire to Hopi land. The X is Quetzalcoatl and the Atlashinoli. The X is the moral philosophy of the Huehuetlatoli. The X is the connection between the Mohawks and Zapatistas. The X is the serpent rising up the spines of the master teachers. It's all phonetics, but there's one thing that's no doubt: you can never, ever, never, ever run away from yourself. From yourself.
Beautiful. That's what I'm talking about.
We have a packed house. Like, guys, tell me a better spoken word artist, bro, right now in the chat.
I mean, I want to say that TEZOZOMOC is as good as Sal Williams.
Sal Williams is the bomb.
You're about that good, dude. You're that good.
So I want to ask you, TEZOZOMOC, you were telling me that you came from a hip hop background.
I was pop locking in the 7th grade.
Nice. When
to
did
Cutie
you
Pie? You're the one.
Yeah,
You know what
I know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody was pop locking. It's like,
And then breakdancing came out a year later.
you
And
start
then I
breakdancing.
DJ.
Nice.
And then
Oh, that's
back
right, you
then
were
I just
DJ.
didn't have nothing to rap about. You know what I
Right.
mean? You know, that wasn't
But you know-
Easy came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, Zero, like for myself, who didn't go to college, decided to drop out of high school, make super bad decisions when I was young. To my nieces and nephews and future kids, I want them to go to college.
I think if you go to college,
Or Zero, do you just want your kid to do what he wants to do?
oh, I definitely want to keep. I want to teach. Look, for me personally, to teach my child utter and complete sovereignty over decisions that he makes for his life, because he's the one that's going to have to live that life. I'm not, right? I'm never put a lot of pressure on my children to go to temescales, to follow indigenous thinking. But with that strategy, my oldest kid has a lot of indigenous principles embedded in him, right? Just by default, just because he wants to be a good human and he's old enough to make those type of decisions. So if my child decides to go to school, I hope he goes to school with the mindset that TEZOZOMOC went, that he's a brilliant ancestral representative of Anahuac Turtle Island. And that if he's going to go to school, he's going to run circles around everyone in that school. He's going to be prepared to be one of the elite voices in a white supremacist institution. If my son decides to go to college. If he doesn't, I will teach him the principles of business and he'll make his own business. And he'll do, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to love my kid. I'm going to love my kid and teach him everything I know as best as I can. I'm not perfect. We come from a lot of historical trauma. I am silent with my kid. But I fight through it little by little. I fight through that trauma. And I try to break that cycle with love. And I remember my ancestors to do it because they loved me when I was singing in that temescal and they woke in my spirit. That's what I'm going to do with my kid.
So for the youth that's watching this episode or it's going to hear back on the Spotify and the iTunes podcast player, TEZOZOMOC, what are the key benefits on actually pursuing college and then excelling?
The key benefits, well, it's definitely open up doors for you, but it's gonna open up doors for our community. That's the benefit. If you're rooted, you're gonna come back to your community. If you have that capitalist mindset, there's a thing called tacoism where you use your ethnic affiliations to put you in positions and to get those like positions at the university, but you don't care about the community. You're not concerned with what's going on. All your concern is about your career and careerism and getting tenure, for example. But when you're rooted, it's a benefit for the community because they're going to get a psychologist. They're going to get a teacher. They're going to get a professor. They're going to get a doctor. They're going to get somebody that takes that knowledge and bring it back to the community for the benefit of the community.
So what's your advice to the kid watching? And he's like, all right, I heard all this, but I want to start a business, or I want to be a rapper, or I'd rather just, sell drugs all day. Take the negative alternative. So what's your message to these kids? Like, okay, well, if you're not going to go to college, then best believe you need to bust your ass on whatever else you want to pursue when it comes to like maybe a business or be a social media influencer. Now all these kids are stuck on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
So what's your message to those people?
For me,
go ahead.
For me, I didn't go to college. Okay. And I did hit successes, but I also lost it very fast because I wasn't educated, right? I had to hire people like accountants, secretaries, things like that I should have been able to do that work if I was educated enough to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is be prepared if you're unprepared to lose things. The trick to it is not to be attached to it, not to be attached to the wealth that you're able to generate, because that's their main hook. When you're not attached to their wealth, then you can be brilliant and creative infinitely. And that's what I feel like I've done in my life. And now I have Malenali Superfood, a lot more focused. Now I do know about accounting. Now I do know about these things. So if you're going to not go to school, be prepared to lose and learn a hard lesson.
Or those artists that are like, or those fans that are inspiring artists. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Add that to your.
Well, all I know is there's an $8 an hour job waiting for our people right now. So if that's what you want to struggle through that and try to raise a little money with $8, $10, 12 hours, $12, even $15, it's going to be rough. None of that's going to pay the rent. So strategically, I think our people should be in all fronts of society, whether it's at the university, whether it's in politics, whether it's in community organizing, whether it's in just community center like you have in your superfoods and bringing that knowledge to the community. So everybody has a role, but I just know that there's reasons they try to lock our people out of these universities, these elite universities, because they know the benefits that it could lead for our community.
Yeah, makes sense.
You go to a place like UCLA, what do you look around and it's all Asian and Caucasian.
Let me ask you this, Des. You went to UCLA, right?
Yeah.
You give me your honest opinion. If when you went to UCLA, there was, let's say, 200 TEZOZOMOCs there that all studied together, they all got fucking 3.6. You don't think UCLA is going to go, hey, what the fuck's happening here? Or what is this happening? Right? Or are they content with just seeing one of us go up there and do a great job? And as long as there's just one, it's all good.
No, they're not monitoring that. They're just seeing if you do the work or not.
Right.
You need to produce the work and be able to get through that degree.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, in my opinion, if they were 200 TEZOZOMOCs studying that way, you would find a racist dean to target them. Because they're excelling and they're not supposed to. Only one of you are supposed to excel, not all of you.
Well, they just make it hard because it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like UCLA, for example, there was this one quarter. It was one of my first quarters there. The sociology of education was 10 books. It's only 10 weeks. So that class had 10 books. My other class had 8 books.
Right.
And then another class was 7 books. So I was responsible for 25 books in 10 weeks.
Wow.
It's just ridiculous.
But that's what I'm saying.
Jump through the hoops.
But
so they make it so hard. Like even Anglos that go to the university, half of them drop out. It's across the board. All ethnicities drop out at 50%. So we're not the only ones. We're just in so low numbers that there's not a big population of us on certain campuses.
But that's what I'm trying to get at, is that it's strategic, that it's that way. Yeah. They would have a problem. What I'm trying to say is that they would have a problem if we had 250 Chicanos graduating from UCLA at high degrees. White supremacy would have a problem with that.
Well, Zero, can I chime in on that? Like, I have a huge family. How is it that my oldest sister is the only college graduate from UCI?
That's my point. There's only one. There's only one. It wasn't like Deso came from a lineage of like all his brothers graduated.
No,
UCLA.
and check this out. Check all of her friends. All of her friends are not Latino or Mexican, and they got like their parents are college graduates, and their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. Like, I get you, Zero.
That's
I hear
my
where you're coming
point.
from.
That's my point.
Well, plus too, in my neighborhood, no one went to college, the university. There was one friend had a brother who went to USC, and he was doing Mexican American studies. And I wasn't going to college yet. I was thinking about it at the time, but none of the brothers believed anything I said in the neighborhood.
And check
They
this
thought I
out.
was trying to brainwash them.
She went
I'm telling
to-
you the truth.
Eva went to UCI in Irvine. I used to go spend the night over there, in her dorms when I was like 14, 15 years old. Literally, I felt like I was an alien because all I saw were Asian people and Indian people.
Well, that's one thing that I experienced without going to college because, my daughter's mom went to UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And when I would visit, I felt culture shock. I felt like someone's going to harass me for being there or felt just too poor to be there, intimidated by people who read 5-6 books, in a week, and you're having a hard time reading one. Yeah. This is white supremacy, racist institutions. That's why I give it up. I'm proud to note that, because I know it's not easy to graduate any institution that has white supremacy at the head, which is what happened.
The colonizers' institution.
Yeah, these are colonizers' institution. You're like the Frederick Douglass.
I was disappointed in some of the professors at UCLA. I had some of the worst professors ever.
Talk to me about the racist experiences you had at UCLA. Just probably the most one that you can remember.
Well, I used to walk around UCLA like I owned it. You got to be a warrior.
Okay.
So that's how I walked around that place.
But there was racism.
Oh, yeah. Well, this wasn't racism because the Asians, they were from Japan. And I was in summer programs. I got in the elevator and they looked at me. There was like 5 of them. And they said, you work here? With their broken English, they wanted to just ask me if I worked there. And now I'm a student. It was beyond their imagination that I was a student.
Wow, see?
So I was a student. Or how about at Occidental College? They hire me to teach for American Studies Department, the Latina experience. And they say, all right, to get your ID for Occidental College so you can check out books and make copies, you need to go to the Cactus Cooler where they have this restaurant at Occidental College. They have different, foods that you can buy and students and faculty.
Like a food court?
Yeah, like a food court.
Uh-huh.
So I'm in there looking for this office to take my ID picture. And I asked one of the workers, where's the office where you take your ID for Occidental College?
It was for the janitors, huh?
No, well, she looked at me and she goes, you see that door right there? And she was a Mexican, Central American woman that worked there. She, you see that door right there? You go through that door and then you make a right. And at the end, it's at the corner right there. And then she says, why? She's all, are you the new cook?
I knew it. It was for the fucking food.
I wasn't the new cook.
You're the new professor.
But she thought I was the new cook. But those are the stereotypes. But it wasn't matter or nothing like that. Those are the stereotypes.
No.
But there was a white guy at UCLA at the apartments who was saying, oh, you work here. And he wanted to have me do something for him. I don't work here. I just ignored him.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, you have to have leather skin, especially to be at UCLA, especially to be from our neighborhood.
Well, I was looking for the racist on campus. So I wasn't trying to dodge them. I was looking for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wouldn't find them, but
the type of racism though that we're talking about is unconscious racism, elitism, right?
You're talking about institutional racism?
Institutional racism, yeah. To better coin the phrase.
Well, there's a lot of elitism at UCLA. They think they're above. The professors think they're above the common person at UCLA, that's for sure. Even the Chicano professors.
Talk about that.
Well,
what do you mean by that? Define that.
We barely had got to UCLA in summer programs, and one of the professors comes in. So, as soon as you get on campus, be sure to go talk to your professors and see what research they're doing. He's all, and don't be intimidated by the way we talk, because we just talk this way. It's just a fool. Man, it's some Chicano that went to like Penn State University or something like that. I just looked at this guy like, you got to be kidding me. We just talk this way.
Like intellectual and words that are too...
The UCs are research institutions and Cal States are teaching institutions. So they're just not, they're not concerned with their teaching capabilities at the UC. They're just concerned about publishing their works and getting tenure. So they end up being some of the worst professors that you could ever have.
Wow.
Like, see, this is the problem. Chicano studies has never had a PhD. Well, only in recent years they've had a PhD in Chicano studies, but there's been Chicano studies departments and classes. So what happens is a lot of these professors, they'll get a PhD in psychology, in gender studies, in history, in sociology. And when they try to get that PhD position at the universities, they don't get the position in sociology, in psychology, because they face white supremacy in the hiring process. So who do they turn to? Because they have a PhD, they turn to Chicano studies. And some of these, they go to these elite institutions like UCLA, and they get hired because they have a PhD. But they might have never taught a Chicano studies class in their entire life.
Wow.
They've never even read any Chicano lit. So now you're in Chicano 101 with a professor who does have no clue.
Who's going to go over Cesar Chavez and
well, I don't know if you don't necessarily have to just cover Cesar Chavez, but even that they might not know.
Well, I'm just talking
they
about.
They might not even know the farm worker struggle. But yeah, they're teaching Chicano Studies 101.
Yeah.
And they're giving you a grade on it.
Yeah.
They're having you read some generic literature. So that's the problem. So luckily there has been some PhDs recently in Chicano Studies, but a lot of it depends on what the professor wants to bring to the classroom.
From my understanding, getting a PhD takes so much academic dedication that, I mean, you know how you're describing UCLA being hard to just graduate from? Yeah. I mean, imagine getting a PhD.
Yeah.
That's like, so what I'm trying to bring to the LA Natives podcast community is that the choice you make when you go to racist institutions, that's it. Let's just say that. The choice you make when you go to a racist institution, I mean, be prepared. Like, Teso came in prepared. Like, he went in with the chimali and a fucking...
Yeah,
he was ready. He was looking for shit.
Yeah, I was ready. I was a warrior already. I was on warrior
mode.
Yeah.
And you were ready to debate professors. You were ready to debate anybody when it came to our culture.
I would challenge them.
Yeah.
But I had to watch out because you got to watch out. Some of these professors read a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
So don't get into arguments that you don't know what you're talking about. You know,
right.
Make sure you got your stuff straight. You read the literature and you know what you're talking about.
Especially when you're going up against.
So yeah. So when they would go into like things like human sacrifice, and then they would rip out the heart and in Indian Chicano studies, I forgot what it was, 10B or something. Oh, they're gonna call on me, and I asked the professor, okay, how many Spaniards wrote down in the 16th century that they witnessed these human sacrifices that you're talking about right now to this class?
Whoa.
How many? He couldn't even answer that question. There's two, Hernán Cortés and Bernal Díaz del Castillo. The only problem was that was La Noche Triste. That's July 1st, 1520. That was the night they were kicked out of Tenochtitlan. So now they're on the shore of the lake. Tenochtitlan is in the middle of the lake, 4 or 5 miles away.
From the shore.
From the shore. And these Spaniards are claiming that they witnessed Spaniards being sacrificed from 4 or 5 miles at night. It was La Noche Triste. This is in the middle of the night, too. So they didn't see or hear anything. So he's looking at me. He didn't know what to say. And I had to clarify it for him. It was 2 Spaniards. And then he told the class, oh, yeah, we need to be critical of the information. He would have never said that if I did not challenge him in that class.
Absolutely.
So he didn't have no evidence to support it, but there he was at UCLA talking about human sacrifice.
Yeah.
But there's more information. We could talk about that, but that actually needs to be like some kind of podcast where we talk about human sacrifice in itself, fact or fiction.
Right. Well, look, we have a lot of podcast listeners that have no idea what Chicano studies even means. Yeah, I have no idea what it means. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It would be a class, a curriculum, like, right? A class.
Well, Chicano comes from Mexica. Mexica. The Spaniards try to pluralize it and say Mexicanos. It's not Mexicanos. It's Mexicanos. That X has a phonetic value of SH. That's why MEXICA is Mexica. Mexica. So that comes from the indigenous people of Tenochtitlan. Latino and Hispanic, Latin is the language of the Romans. Hispanic means anything from Spain, culture, religion, morals, folkways, traditions, everything from Spain. So Chicano is a stepping stone to indigenous consciousness.
Wow.
So that's
And
why
Chicano with
Chicano
an
studies
X.
is important. Chicano with the X.
Exactly. Has to
Because
be
it's not Mexicano, it's Mexicano.
Chicano.
So
There you go.
it's rooted. So that's where, some people will say, Chicano was a Mexican that was born in the United States. But it goes deeper than that. It goes back to our ancestors and ancestral roots and culture.
Think about that, Deso. We just got a question from someone that said, what is Chicano studies? That means they're so far removed from Chicano or Mexicano.
Yeah.
They're so far removed from it. They're in the generation that considers themselves maybe, I'm not talking about anybody in the chat, but just in general, like when we go to like maybe a high school or a middle school in East Los Angeles and you go, hey, you're going to take Chicano studies when you go to college. They're going to be like, what? Chicano? What's a Chicano? That's how fucking far removed we are from the movement.
Yeah, but I turn Mexicans and Central Americans and even South Americans into Chicanos all the time.
Nice.
When they finish my class, they're calling themselves Chicano,
Nice.
Chicana.
Nice.
Yeah, in their papers, they're talking about, I never thought about Chicano, but yo soy Chicana, yo soy Chicano. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't take, we have a strong connection to our past.
Yeah.
We are still eating the same foods our ancestors ate 5,000 to 10,000 years ago. Not many people can make those claims. Mole, pozole, chili, tamale, guacamole. Those are all ancestral foods that go back thousands of years ago. We have that connection. We know original languages that other groups don't have. Some Asian groups, they have strong connection to their ancient languages. But we as Chicanos have access to Zapoteco, Nahuatl, Mixteco, Yaqui, Huichol, all these native languages that still exist.
So on obviously, I want to break this down. Chicano on Google, it means someone that identifies as a people of Mexican descent born in the United States. That's disgusting.
Chicano is indigenous consciousness.
Absolutely.
With the X.
Absolutely.
It's indigenous. I mean, you have indigenous, not only indigenous consciousness, but political consciousness, social consciousness, educational consciousness.
From my understanding and my studies of Chicano history, is that it was a word that they created to kind of define themselves instead of having someone define them, from my understanding, right? Like we're going to call ourselves Chicano because we're rooted to indigenous principles, indigenous lineage that goes back, we don't know how far, because they weren't very specific on what they knew in terms of like the ancestral stuff. The ancestral stuff started, in my opinion, coming in 94 when the abuelos started coming out of the mountains and started teaching us.
Brother Heron says, what about Chichimeca? Chichimecas were Nahuatl speakers too, but they try to say they were nomads and they were roaming around in the northern Mexico, but they were still civilized. It's still the people, the mole and the pozole and the tamales, and they came to count with the count. We're talking about calendar systems too, when we're talking about these ancient peoples. The only people that had a 260 calendar on this earth were the Mesoamericans, the people of Anahuac.
Nice.
That agricultural calendar, that gestation period calendar.
Wow. That calendar that Teso is mentioning
the Solquin,
is the one we are focusing on LA Natives. I've been following it for the 260-day calendar started on November 7th. And I've been following each energy, each number, each day. I've missed like maybe 5 days, but I've been doing a documentation of keeping track and following those energies to achieve my birthing at 260, whatever that is. New business, new whatever it is. I'm focused on that, using these energies, using this calendar, right? The 260-day calendar that you just mentioned, which is Masatsin's expertise. We've been using his research. He doesn't claim that it's his, but we've been using his studies to do that. And then I want to introduce, coming in January, our Nahuatl song class that we're going to have at Malinali Superfoods. So for all of you local LA natives who want to take their children and learn Nahuatl songs and actually know the meaning behind it, because it's going to come with a breakdown. Can you talk about it a little bit?
And to translate it too as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so we'll be learning Nahuatl through song, but also studying the grammatical rules of Nahuatl.
Nice.
Because those documents from the 16th century, see, the Spaniards were burning the original pictographs. 99% of them were burned, but the Nahuatls learned how to write their language using the Latin alphabet. So Nahuatl, Nahuatl, is so we could look at these documents and say, well, what did they put to paper 500 years ago? And when we look at these documents, we realize that there was a philosophy called Inshochi Inquicat. Inshochi Inquicat is the flower in the song. The ancient people of Anahuac said flowers are symbols of beauty, but by themselves they'll wither away and die. But when you tie a flower to a song, it becomes everlasting. That is the philosophy behind their words and a lot of their poems that we can take a look at. And things like Niwalatok nimitzmaka sequika lisli. Iwan shochime nikneki nimitz kakayawas. Ashochitlenta timoilia. Iwan tatikishmatoka ipan moyolo. Nimitzwalikilitok ni shochi. Ni mamati walaki ipan no kuitlapa mochan. Niteki teso shochi. Iwan niwala niwi kolti. Shinachneki. Shinachneki. I've come to offer you songs and flowers to make your head spin. Oh, but another kind of flower, and you know it in your hearts. I came to bring them to you. I carried them to your house on my back. These uprooted flowers, I'm bent double with the weight of them for you. If you don't know the songs of the Aztecs or the Mexicans or the Nahuas, then you don't know nothing about them.
There you go again.
What do you mean?
No, you always hit me with that, like the poems and stuff.
Yeah.
And no, I get it. No, they're very profound.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna find when you're looking at these literatures.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna learn together. I'm humble. I'm humble. I want to learn these things because, I've learned from different areas. I feel like I have a puzzle, and I got these pieces from different sources, right? And we're trying to put them all together to create our reality, our true reality, our prophecy, right? The abuelo said we would come back, that we would remember, right?
Yeah.
And no one taught you. No one taught me.
It's a genetic memory.
It's a genetic memory. And I attribute it to, there's some codices in the codice books, right? And you see them where they're tied, they have like a bandana on their eyes.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you've seen those. I really resonate with those because I feel like you have to find things by closing your eyes. That's unheard of. How are you going to find things when you close your eyes?
Pat McAbee was talking about the Wiwa of Colombia, or one of the groups in that general area, and that there's like when they train young to be medicine people within their community, they grow up in the darkness of a cave for 13 years. And then they come out on the 13th year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I feel like me and you are those warriors that had to wear blindfolds to find this precious wisdom, right?
Yeah. Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah. We had to wear blindfolds, and we found it with, I can tell you right now, nobody in my family said, hey, I'm going to sit you down and teach you what our great-grandfather taught us.
Yeah.
No one. But here we are. We're talking on Alien Natives. We're talking about flower and song. You're talking to one of the most well-known Mexica hip-hop artists, my group El Vuh, right? We're talking to one of the most prolific, profound Nahuatl poets, which is TEZOZOMOC. And we willed our abuelos' prophecy into existence now. Thank you for coming on the show, bro.
I'm gonna tell, but I still always listen to those elders.
Absolutely.
And like Ombudsman. And,
without them, we wouldn't be us. Without them, we wouldn't be us.
See, with a little bit of their insight and then a little bit of contemplation and searching for that truth, it comes together like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's our will to believe. The hardest thing, I don't know if you experienced this, but when I became aware of my consciousness and started to, I don't have my glasses. I don't even read those. I don't even read the comments.
No.
But I read them after because it's very important when they do comment. I didn't mean to say like.
Well, Mary is talking about. We were talking about genetic memory. She's also there's those traumatic memories too. Yeah, we gotta remember the good and the bad, and that bad will make you cry. But yeah, do we know that something's wrong that we don't know our history? I don't know. Can we understand colonization to just our memory? Yeah, it's there too. So I'll agree with Mary.
I mean, yeah, it's there.
It needs to. We still need to heal and mourn.
Absolutely, yes. And no one needs to heal more than women.
Yeah,
women were the ones that got it the hardest, in my opinion. If you go to Mexico and you study Mexico and you look at like colonized life, the women are the ones that are carrying the big ass bag and putting the bag down and going and cooking and serving a man and all that. That's like Spaniards' way of thinking and treating women instead of treating them like this beautiful, intelligent, highly intelligent being. Like you said, like my partner is a very important part of my decision making now.
Yeah.
Right? Even when we're pissed at each other to the point of not even talking to each other, I still go, hey, you know what? I went in. I have to run it through her.
Yeah.
Because she's smart. She is freaking smart. Right? She has just the same amount of intelligence as I do, if not more.
Intuitive insight.
Yeah. And so I think, yes, the trauma is there. We live through genocide. When I say genocide, we go, oh, yeah, that's a word. No, genocide is the trafficking, human trafficking, raping, molesting, and
chopping
murder.
Chopping up children.
Feeding
it to their dogs.
Burning pregnant women. Hanging pregnant women. This is genocide. We're describing genocide. So when we say we survived genocide, you pretty much walk through a forest of fire.
Well, the only reason we're here is because our ancestors resisted.
Yeah.
The only reason.
Yeah. And they left behind their most important, valuable thing, in my opinion, their foods.
Yeah.
Their foods. Their foods heal you.
Yeah.
The foods heal your body and keep them at its highest potential.
Of alkalinity.
Yeah. So think about it. If your organs are functioning properly, if your glands are functioning properly, your mind and your heart are at its peak level of performance. So we got to be aware of diet. We will always talk about diet in LA natives.
They say you are what you eat.
Yeah.
It's true.
And if you drink
exactly
beer,
what you eat.
And if you drink beer and eat obsessive amounts of meat,
GMOs, you turn into that.
Yeah. Yes. Like when people talk to me about Trump supporters, the first thing I say, look at their body. Look at their body. They're fucking freaks, man. They're like bloated and their stomach's like way out to here and their cheeks are all red and their eyes are all yellow. They can't possibly say anything intelligent when their body is that damaged.
Yeah.
So
you have to love yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to love yourself, you have to be disciplined.
You got to
put in the work.
Yeah, it takes discipline. To not eat meat and dairy and
just the comments.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, you have to focus on your whole being, right? Sometimes we refer to the mind as like, oh, it's the only thing that exists is the mind. But you need your hands, you need their circulation, you need your heart pumping, you need to feel the emotions, right? It's not just the mind, it's the entire body. You know what I mean? When you live in the mind, then your body can become obese, sick, not even move. But you could read hella books and be fucking intelligent. But you need your whole entire body to live this experience, is what I'm trying to say. Right? To live at the highest potential, right? You need your body to be working.
That's why it's your temple.
Yep.
And anyone
Wasn't the temples a metaphor for a human body, right? I believe Arturo Mesa said that.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, the human body and the temple. So when we look at a temple, we're looking at a metaphor for our body. I think Arturo Mesa said that in a breakdown.
And this is why everyone tuning in right now, if you haven't been to Malalani Superfoods, make sure you stop by. Make sure you go to these pop-ups, Zero. Like, man, just a few pop-ups have you had? They've been explosive.
Yeah, a lot of people come to them. And what I love about the pop-up is that Teso's there, and there's all kinds of other people that are just as intelligent and just as dedicated to our people. And I don't know. I think there's gonna have to come a time where we say we're not struggling no more and that we're getting it together and that we're organizing.
Not just the pop-ups, the open mic nights where it's jam-packed.
Absolutely.
Right?
Teso was there last time,
and
right?
then you see TEZOZOMOC there.
Yeah, Teso was there last open mic.
Yeah, I said, when the creator Ipao Namawani sent me from the stars to earth, I didn't ask to be Mexican. I just got lucky. I didn't ask to be the hummingbird's friend or creator of high civilization, to be the greatest farmer of the world or the inventor of zero. I just got lucky because mis abuelitos, mis abuelitas, mis nanas, mis tatas eran Nahua, Cacamaya, Zapoteco, Mexica were Mexicans, hardworking, caring, genius nanas de Anahuac, courageous tatas de Cuitláhuac, loving and sharing. Have you eaten, mijo? ¿Ya comiste, mija? Today, tomorrow, again and again, I didn't ask to be Mexican. I didn't ask to be the child of a beautiful dark brown, obsidian-eyed mujer. I just got lucky. I didn't ask to understand precession and how the sky moves 1 degree to the western direction every 72 years. Didn't ask for the connection to Teotihuacan or Monte Alban to have constructed La Gran Tenochtitlan. I just got lucky. I didn't ask to be a master mason, a flower arranger, a Bonampak mural painter, nor did I ask for the recipes to tamales or a guacamole. Didn't ask for the chocolate for the simmering mole. I just got lucky. I didn't ask to be an Igor Jaguar, Xochicalco, or Mitla, to love the hottest chiles, Quetzalcoatl, Nahuatl, Teocintle, nor did I ask to be one of Tonantzin sons, one of the turquoise prince's precious ones, or to have a grand legacy of flowering songs. I just got lucky. I just got lucky.
That's dope. You always, like, hearing that, I want to show LA natives the high level of nutrition and poetry. You just heard TEZOZOMOC. This is what I did at the open. I dream in real time, effortless motions of heart and mind. My spirit sublime even through all their crime. I'm rooted to time. No longer have to search for what I can't find. This love has always been there, like the transparent air. The wind can't be seen, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It surrounds everything. Every plant, every animal, every human being. I could see beyond the smoke of which my ancestors spoke. This world is a joke. It just ain't funny anymore. They're trying to send us off to a never-ending war without rhyme or reason. But you can't have my children. They were given to me by the sacred tree, implanted in me. I'll teach them to see beyond the lies and the greed. I didn't water your seeds. I planted my own. I showed them their home made of ancient stone so they don't have to roam like a dog with no home. Because deep in their heart is a powerful flame that controls the brain, that melts the chain, that dries the rain, brought here by Spain such a long time ago. I'll pull back my bow just to let you know you can't have my soul. It comes from the sun. It comes from the earth. The contractions have started. She's starting to give birth to a new reality where everyone can see what's going on in this world. This was never a new world. Plato wrote of this land. Don't be so naive. Use your heart to expand. No drugs you take will ever help you understand. This was given to you when you were born. The truth can't be written down on pieces of paper. It could never be torn. Words of light from an artist made of blood and corn. Poetry at its high level.
LA Natives Podcast. Man, it's the packed house. Why is it always a packed house, Zero, late at night?
I don't know, man. I guess people finally have time to rest from their 15-hour day. That's what I try to tell people. Mexican families, indigenous families have to work 3 times harder just to give the experience to their children or the luxury of eating meat or going to a movie or going to an amusement park. We have to work 15, 20 hours. Just like you had to go to school and read fucking shitloads of books. But we persevere. We have a lineage and a fire inside us that comes from the infinite, based in astrology and math. I love that you're my friend, brother. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
I want to definitely mention before we let you go.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, if you guys want to hear a lot more of TEZOZOMOC, all you have to do is go to Bandcamp and type in his name, and his album is up there.
Absolutely.
Purchase the album, support the album. It's one of the dopest projects I've ever heard in my life. He just shot it to me a couple of days ago, man. For anyone out there that want to hear more, Bandcamp, TEZOZOMOC.
Brother Heron, too, is asking for a song for Huitzilopochtli for the hummingbird.
Ooh, yeah. Let's end it with that. First,
this song.
Wait. You're going to break it down, right?
Yeah.
What it means and stuff? Okay, cool. So before we let you go, I just want to say goodbye, and we'll leave it after TEZOZOMOC sings the hummingbird song. Seek your true self. You're a brilliant, indigenous, ancient man of Turtle Island and woman of Turtle Island and Nahuac.
Actually, the Wiwa of Colombia, they have a message to the women of today, the indigenous women. They said they need to speak and act and move with the authority of the mother.
Nice.
To bring that mother medicine back to our people.
With that being said.
So the hummingbird sun, the December 21st sun, is the smallest sun of the whole year. That's Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird to the left. And every 26,000 years, that baby sun is in periodic alignment with the Milky Way galaxy and the Earth. I want to give a shout out to Bobby Robledo out there in Utah,
up,
brother Bobby. Now, this particular song, I created it with another native speaker of Nahuatl from Morelos, Victorino, and the translation of it is, hummingbird, please come. I will give you flowers in divine turquoise words. Oh, little bird, I love you. The middle part is just a vocable that is actually, a poet has his part, and then the crowd would say their part. Oh, ya ya, oh, oh, ya. That's the crowd part. And then the second verse goes, my heart is so happy when you're about to fly. Take these flowers to where you're the happiest. And it goes like this. For Huitzilopochtli. Huitzitzilin tlashiwala in xochimeni mitzmakas in tlatolite oshiwi tototzintleni mitzneki o ilili ya o ilili o waya o ilili ya o ilili o waya nino yolo papapaki kwauti huati patlani shikonana in xochime campate huati papaki o ilili ya o ilili o waya o ilili ya o ilili o waya huitzitzilin tlashiwala in xochimeni mitzmakas in tlatolite oshiwi tototzintleni mitzneki o ilili ya o ilili o waya o ilili ya o ilili o waya nino yolo papapaki kwauti huati patlani shikonana in xochime campate huati papaki o ilili ya o ilili o waya o ilili ya o ilili o waya huitzitzilin tlashiwala in xochimeni mitzmakas in tlatolite oshiwi tototzintleni mitzneki o ilili ya o ilili o waya o ilili ya O ilili o guayanino yolo papapaki cuauti pejuati patlani shikonana ishochime campate juati papaki o ilili aya o ilili o guaya o ilili aya o ilili o guaya huitzitili tlashiwala ishochime ni mitzmacat intlatolite ushiwi tototzintle ni mitzneki o ilili aya o ilili o guaya o ilili aya o ilili o guaya nino yolo papapaki cuauti pejuati patlani shikonana ishochime campate juati papaki o ilili aya o ilili o guaya o ilili aya o ilili o guaya.
Tlazocamatli, Ometeo, Tonansi, Tonatu. Love you guys. See you soon.
Ometeo.